Good morning, and thank you guys for being with me as always. Today, we're going to do a class on the recipe to exceed your personal expectations. So it was fitting that, before we started the recording, we were talking about food and cooking and recipes, because that's kind of how this is going to go today. But as we get started, I want you to kind of think if any of these things apply to you. So does your business lack having a consistent pipeline of qualified and ready-to-do business leads? Does your business lack having a consistent pipeline of qualified and ready-to-do business leads? That was duplicated. Sorry about that. Do you have thoughts of doing more in your business, but you avoid taking the actions on alternative methods? So sometimes what happens is we get so focused in on just doing the same things that we don't actually stop to evaluate, are the things we are doing, goodness gracious, I can't talk this morning, are the things that we're doing actually effective? So in a lot of times, and I've seen this in businesses, I've owned and run a number of businesses over the years, and sometimes you get so focused on just doing actions, any actions, that you don't stop to realize that they're not the right actions. So maybe this is you. Do you make goals or create strategies within your mind, but then you avoid taking those necessary actions? Now, I think if we're being honest, most of us are probably guilty of this one. We come up with these business plans, we come up with these ideas, we decide that this is what we're going to do. And then that's where it stops. We don't ever actually put them down. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is actually put your goals on paper. We talk about vision boards, we talk about things like that. And it is so important to have those strategies that you can actually have accountability with. Do you feel like you're incapable of competing and winning against another agent? Now, as a new agent, this is something that a lot of people really fear. They have this idea that, oh, I've only been in the business 3 months or 6 months. I'm not going to be able to compete with those other agents that have been out there for 10 years or more. I'll tell you guys that the majority of agents are not good agents, okay? And majority might be a stretch. But there are a lot of agents out there who have had their license for a very long time that are not good agents. And then there are agents out there like me when I got started where I wasn't worried about the fact that I was new. I came in and said, you know what? I'm going to know everything I need to know about this business to be successful with it. And I was. So maybe this is you. Maybe you feel like you're incapable of competing. And so that limitation is going to be something that really keeps you from achieving at that level, because you have this idea that you have to know everything before you can be good. And that's just not the case in real estate. Now, for those of you that are fairly new, you may not have gotten here yet, but do you feel that real estate may not be the right career choice for you? And I'll tell you that at some point, most real estate agents get to this point and go, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And I want you to evaluate that, but I don't want you to take that as, if I'm thinking that, then I must be in the wrong place, because we've all been there. Now, I'll tell you, those moments of uncertainty, those moments of questioning who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it are important. It's important that you stop and really evaluate what it is that you want. Because real estate is not for everybody. 80% of real estate agents don't make it to their first renewal. So it's a situation where the dropout rate is pretty high. And I don't say that to scare you, because those of you that are watching this class are setting yourself up for the level of success that comes from having that staying power. But not a lot of people have that. And Crystal said, real estate's been the best career decision of my life. And And I've tried several careers since quitting teaching. This is the first time I feel like I have a good fit. And Jake said, I love it. I just get frustrated with how much stuff that's popped up for me and not knowing the answer for a client. Luckily, Greg and Scott have been great to help, but I think I need to stop worrying about knowing everything. And that's exactly right. That's what you guys need to understand and really come to terms with is it is okay not to have the answers. There are times now where I still go, let me call Florida legal because I don't know. And I've probably had my hand in, between the agents that I've assisted and agents that I've mentored, I've probably had my hand in a few thousand transactions in some capacity, not personal like closings, but in transactions that I've had a part of or that I've been working through. So even as many deals as I've been a part of, I still don't have all the answers. So I need you guys to be able to understand that when you get to these moments of introspection, when you get to those moments of, am I in the right place? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Take that for what it is. Take that as a moment of, let's be honest for a second. And maybe it's not for you, and that's okay. But if it is, what is it that's causing you to second guess that? Are you just not doing the actions that you need to be doing? Are you not making your phone calls? Are you not going through those motions? Is it you or is it the industry? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, more often than not, the problem is right here. It's not that I don't have the skills or the knowledge or the ability or the, tangible actions that I know it's going to take to be successful. It's right here. It is your own mind that is keeping you from believing that you are capable of doing what you know you should be able to do. And real estate is frustrating, and Jake kind of touched on it there for a second. Deals fall apart. Offers don't get accepted, especially in this market. Real estate is an extremely frustrating place to work. But I'll tell you guys that it's worth it. If you dedicate yourself to the things that you know will generate success, those things that we teach you, I promise you it will be worth it. So how can you perform those strategic actions, master peak skills, and exceed your goals? That's what we're going to talk about today. Perform strategic actions, master those skills, exceed your goals. So there's basically 5 main purposes and objectives that we're going to kind of talk about and cover. We're going to explore the 7 essential ingredients and the step-by-step success recipe in your business. So we're going to treat this a little bit like a recipe, okay? We're going to identify the typical agent strategies that are the main reasons that most agents always struggle. So I'm going to kind of show you what it is that agents do wrong. I'm going to show you how to improve your results by 25% or more on those strategies that you already use in your business. So for those of you who've had your license for a little bit and you're just looking at it going, man, 2020 just really kicked me in the teeth, or, I'm just not where I thought I would be at this point, a year, 2 years, 5 years into the business. Well, let's talk about what we need to do to improve your results. Okay, we're going to cover that. How to understand and deliver a level of customer service that ensures that you are creating raving fans for repeat and referral business. This is so, so, so important. Most agents I know, by the time they get to year 2 or 3 or 4, if they have run their business correctly, no longer buy leads. Probably 80 to 90% of their business comes from referrals. So we're going to talk about how to do that correctly. And then the 5th one is to give you that perfect recipe that will forever improve the level of success that you achieve. So let's get started. Okay. Did you know? Now this is 2020. I just pulled this on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So for 2020, salary.com says that a real estate sales agent in Tampa, Florida, 50%, the median income for a real estate agent is less than $41,000 a year. Now, don't get me wrong, $41,000 a year is not a bad living, okay? I would have a hard time living on $40,000 a year. Maybe you don't, and that's totally okay. But in the Tampa Bay market, the median income of a real estate agent is under $41,000 a year. Now, when we come up to the 90 percentile, meaning 90% of people make less than $61,000 a year, just under $62,000. So that means only 10% of real estate agents in the Tampa Bay market make more than $60,000 a year. Less than 2% of real estate agents make more than $100,000. That's crazy. Because I was consistently pulling down 85 to 115,000 a year. I did not feel like I was in the 2%. That just never even occurred to me. So I don't say this to scare you, because the reality is I know what it takes to get you guys successful. Whatever level of success you want to achieve, whether it's $40,000 a year, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, whatever you want to achieve, I can show you how to get there. But what you have to be willing to do is make those uncomfortable decisions. How willing you are to do those things that are going to be uncomfortable, that are going to be painful at times. Your willingness to do that determines whether you sit at the peak at 40,000 or you run to the 2%ers. It's up to you. Jake said, as silly as it sounds, it's kind of inspiring. With how many agents there are, I figured it would be higher. It just goes to show how many people do it part-time, and there's a lot of opportunity out there to make more, and that's exactly right. Most real estate agents are doing this part-time, especially in Florida. In other parts of the country, not so much. But in Florida, and I've talked about this in other classes, and I have to update the statistic because I know we had a crap ton of agents come in 2020. But last time I checked, Florida had the most real estate agents per capita. It was 1 in 107 people in the state of Florida had a real estate license. The next highest state was California, and it was 1 in 135. So this doesn't necessarily surprise me because, again, we have so many people that have real estate licenses that this is not their primary focus. So I don't say this to scare you. I say this to encourage you. It is absolutely possible to make a fantastic living in real estate if you're willing to work at it. So what are the ingredients required to win and grow? There are 7. A strong purpose, a consistent and predictable strategy, a clear cultivation process, a strong closing strategy, world-class service, powerful repeat and referral business, and a game plan that is scalable. And I'm going to dig into each of these, but this is what it takes. 7 things. If you want to be that 1% or that 2% that make more than $100,000 a year, this is your recipe. 7 things. Now, looks kind of simple, but let's dig into this for a second. So number 1, what is your purpose? What is your purpose? Now, for everybody watching this and everybody that's here live with me, your answer to this question is different. What is your purpose? What is it that you want? Why do you want it? And what is your level of devotion to achieving it? And I need you to be honest with your answer to yourself. Now, you don't have to tell me because at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. But I want you to be honest with yourself and say, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? Second part is, why do you want it? Because until you understand your why, the who, what, where, and when will never, ever amount. It all hinges on your why. So why do you want it? Do you want to get out of that 9-to-5 job? Do you want to get out from working 7 days a week? Do you want to have some financial stability? Do you want to send your kids to college? Do you want to buy a new house? Do you want a new car? Do you want a boat? Do you have an expensive hobby? Whatever the answer to that question is, and there is no right or wrong answer, but I need you to be honest with yourself about it. Why do you want it? I really love the Tesla SUV. It's $100,000. I'm not spending $100,000. But if I was out there selling real estate full time, I'd consider it. I'd seriously consider it. Because at the end of the day, I needed a why. For me, my why was I came from a job where I was making a little over $90,000 a year. And I needed to be home every night, but I still needed to make the kind of money that I was making. Now, I don't say that to brag. I don't say that to, blow up my own chest. That's not what this is about. This is about me telling you that whatever level of success you want to achieve, it's possible if you're willing to do it. And that's the third part of this. What is your devotion to achieving that goal? Now, if we're being honest, most of us, our level of devotion is the same approximate level as our pain threshold. I am willing to work as hard as I can until it gets uncomfortable. Because the minute it starts getting uncomfortable, I don't know that I want to keep doing that. Maybe I'll just sit here where I'm comfortable. Guys, I have met real estate agents that sell $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 a year, year after year after year after year, consistently, like clockwork, because that's where their pain threshold is. They will make $50,000 or $60,000 a year. In a good year, in a bad year, no matter what happens in their life, they will achieve that level of success because that is their comfort zone. So are you willing to expand your comfort zone? Because your goal is the base ingredient that's necessary for success. This is what everything else gets hinged on. Understanding your purpose. And in turn, understanding your customer's purpose. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. The strength of your why determines your level of success. So having your clear and compelling why is what promotes your determination and keeps you motivated to reach your goal. So what I always say is a dream with a plan is a goal. A dream with a plan is a goal. There are a lot of agents out there that dream about making $100,000, but they never develop a plan, so it never becomes a goal. It always remains a dream. So think about that for a second. And I'm not trying to turn this into some sort of like self-help class, but it's important that you guys understand what it is that you're doing. And even more important than that, why are you bothering? Why bother? That's a question I really want you guys to take some time to think about. Not right now, because I want you to continue focusing on what comes next, but I want you to make a note or something, and I want you to spend some time really thinking about that. What is your purpose and what is your why? Okay? The strength of your why will encourage you to set aside your fears. This is where you start pushing that comfort zone a little bit, because a strong mindset is essential. Far too many real estate agents never achieve success because they fear rejection. They remain fearful to take those necessary risks, and they always doubt themselves. Their comfort zone. That far edge of your comfort zone that says, okay, if I get right here, I'm good. I can thrive. I can do it. I'm good. But when I push beyond that step, now it starts getting a little bit darker. Now it's not as bright. Now there's a risk that there's going to be an edge of a cliff here that I just, I don't know about that. But that's where your success lies. Just past your comfort zone. Purpose is how your goals are accomplished. So it's important that you have a meaningful purpose for what you want to achieve in your real estate business. Your purpose falls right in the middle of all of this. Your passion, your mission, your vocation, your profession, okay? Where all of that comes together, that's your purpose. And maybe your purpose is not real estate, and that's okay. But maybe it is. Maybe this is your purpose and you're just too afraid to go after it. Maybe you love it, right? You're passionate about it. You're great at it. The world needs it. So it's something that you love and something the world needs. That becomes your mission. You're paid for it. Well, the world needs it and you're paid for it. That makes it your vocation. You're great at it and you're paid for it. That becomes a profession. You love it and you're great at it. There's your passion. But right in the middle of all that, that's where your purpose lies. And so many people get stuck in a vocation or in a profession or in a passion. Very few people ever make it to their purpose. You know, we all hear these stories, at least, you know, from people that are my age or a little bit older, our parents that came from, you know, the Great Depression and the baby boomers. And my dad was kind of a Depression era guy. And he always said, you go in, you work for a company, you put in your 25 years, you get your gold watch and you go home. Well, that's not the world we live in anymore. For him, it was, he went in the military, he did 20 years in the military, he retired, went to work for the state, did 20 years for the state, retired, and then didn't know what to do with himself. He just literally didn't know what to do because he had spent so much of his life focused on his vocation and his profession that he never stopped to find his purpose. And I think now in the world that we live in, it's so easy to get lost in the mission or get lost in the passion or get lost in the profession that we never stop to figure out what our purpose is. Why were you put on this earth? What are you here to do? I firmly believe that my purpose is to educate. That is my purpose. That is why I am here. That's why every position that I've had since high school basically has been in some sort of training, mentoring, coaching, educating, whatever. That is why I am here. Now, I am not intended to be a teacher because God knows I would smack the crap out of most of these kids. I am not here to be a full-time coach. While I love it, it's just, it doesn't do enough for me. So my passion really is kind of where I've fallen into. It's what I'm good at. It's what I do. Are there other jobs where I could be making significantly more money? Heck yeah. I made more money when I was selling than I make in the position that I am now. But I have my purpose. So I sacrifice the money to be living out my purpose. And that's where you guys need to think about, what is your purpose? Can it be achieved in real estate? Maybe it can, maybe it can't. And maybe real estate becomes a profession or a vocation for a period of time until you find your purpose. And that's okay too. But these are the kinds of things that as you're looking to grow your business, you need to really be honest with yourself about. So why is goal setting so important? Well, goals help us believe in ourselves. Let's think about that for a second. Goals help us believe in ourselves. What is your goal? A goal is something that helps fuel your ambition. Goal setting is not just about creating a plan for your business and holding yourself accountable, but it's about giving yourself the inspiration that's necessary to aim for the things that you never thought possible. Now, there's a quote that I read years ago, and I wish I could remember who it was, and I meant to Google it, and I completely forgot. But it said, nobody ever exceeds beyond their wildest expectations unless they start with some pretty wild expectations. Nobody ever goes beyond or performs beyond their wildest expectations unless they start with some pretty wild expectations. So what does that mean? My goal is to be a mediocre agent. Okay. You're not going to exceed beyond your wildest expectation if your goal is to be a mediocre agent. Now, a mediocre agent is a pretty comfortable place to stay. I do a deal or two a month. I execute a contract. My paperwork is mostly right. My customers like me well enough. There's nothing wrong with that. And if we're honest, that's really the benchmark that a lot of agents operate at. I want to sell, half a dozen homes a year. Okay, cool. But you don't exceed beyond your wildest expectations unless you start with wild expectations. So if you made a decision to make chocolate chip cookies, so Crystal said, I thought 2 transactions a month was going to be a good goal. It's a good goal to start. For somebody that's new, absolutely. My goal was a transaction a week. I wanted to do 50 transactions a year. I typically did 40 to 42. So yeah, it's a good goal. Don't misunderstand. And I don't say this to make you guys think you need to be performing at this stupid level. That's not what this is about. 2 transactions a month. Again, an average real estate agent made $50,000 or 40, what did I say? 46, something like that. Made 40 something thousand a year. So 50 grand a year is great. That's 1 to 2 transactions a month. Really 1 transaction a month in our price point. But if you made a decision to make chocolate chip cookies, so I hope you guys had breakfast because you're going to be hungry, and I did not have breakfast, by the way. So what is the purpose or why for your cookies? In this example, I want to make cookies. Why? Is it a personal craving? Is it for friends or family? Is it for a neighbor? Is it a donation? Is it a function? Why am I making the cookies? Because at the end of the day, my recipe is going to be varied based on my why. If it's just for me, I'm probably not going to make 6 dozen cookies, or I'm going to be, 450 pounds by next week. If I'm making them as a donation, maybe I do want to make 6 dozen cookies. So these are the kinds of things. When you understand your why, now all of a sudden you know what to do with your recipe. If my why is, or my goal rather, is I want to do 10 transactions this year, cool. My recipe for getting to 10 transactions a year is going to be significantly different than my recipe for getting to 40 transactions a year. What is your why? What are you looking to do? So what is the purpose or your why for real estate? And this comes back to the dream board. And Scott and I were talking about this last Friday on our weekly broker chat. Having a vision board. Well, what is your why? Personal income, to be able to help your friends or family, for retirement, to pay off debt, to get rich. Whatever your why is, it's fine. If your goal is to amass huge amounts of wealth, that is fine. 70% of the millionaires in the United States, actually, I think it's in the world, but I know for a fact that it's in the United States. 70% of the millionaires got that way through real estate. Buying, selling, transacting. That's how they made their money. It is a very, very good way to make a living, to make a good living. We all need retirement, right? We want to have some money set aside to be able to live on tomorrow. Help our family or friends. One of the agents that I'm friends with, it was about a year or 2 ago, bought her mom a new car. bought her mom a car. For all the sacrifices that her mom had made for her throughout the years, she had a really good year in real estate, and at the end of the year bought her mom a new car. These are the kinds of things that you can do in real estate. These are the kinds of doors that you can open. But you got to know why you're doing it. It's not enough to say, I want to sell houses. Okay, cool. Why? Why? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Why do you do what you do? What is your why? Second part is a consistent, predictable strategy. Predictable strategy. Okay. So what does that mean? Who's my most desirable customer? And how do I earn their business? This is a question you should be asking yourself. It starts with your mission statement. It goes to your vision statement. Understanding the mission and vision statement are different, okay? Talk about strategic drivers, critical business issues, critical success factors, SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, strengths, weaknesses, obstacles, and can't think of it. Long-term objectives and then tactical initiatives. These are the things that you should have in writing for your business. Because a predictable strategy comes from knowing if I make my phone calls, if I send my emails, if I door knock, if I host one open house a month, if I host, brokers opens, if I market in my social media, if I do all of these things, I can predictably count on X number of customers. Now, out of those X number of customers, I know that a percentage of them are not going to close. It's just part of real estate. So that means I need to factor for that. Now, as I'm going through that, are there things that I can do to help increase my effectiveness, to get more customers, to be better at getting them to refer me to their friends and family? These are all part of those things that come into creating a consistent and predictable strategy. So your strategy is your recipe, what you need and how you do it. Your strategy details who your desired customer is and the actions that are required to capture them in your business. Sounds easy enough, right? The better your strategy, the bigger your success. All right, now I'm a college football fan. I don't watch NFL, I don't watch baseball, I don't watch basketball. I love college football. And I am a University of Florida fan. My wife went there. I've been a Gator fan. I could Gator chomp before I could walk. I bleed orange and blue Florida football, okay? When you look at strategies, when you look at the coaches that come in, when you look at the teams themselves, the biggest level of success comes from putting that right group of people together. The right coaches with the right players, the right strategy, the right plays at the right time. That's your perfect season. Now, we know in reality, it almost never happens, except for maybe Nick Saban at Alabama, which I despise. You got to argue, the man knows football, okay? But at the end of the day, it's about how effective are you at taking your strategy. I'm not even going to repeat that, Crystal. How effective are you at competing at the level that you need to be able to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? Now, and I'll use, just continuing with this analogy, if you play in the All-American Conference or some, Division II or Division IV level conference, your strategy for going undefeated in that conference can be significantly different than the strategy required to compete in the SEC. There's an argument to be made that the SEC is the top of the pinnacle of college football. So do you have a strategy that's going to allow you to compete in the All-American Conference? Or do you have a strategy that's going to allow you to compete in the SEC? Because they're not the same. Now, an undefeated season is an undefeated season, right? And if that's the level that you want to compete at, then so be it. Be the best in your level. But understand, if you're talking about competing at a level that's going to push you out of your comfort zone, you've got to have a strategy that's going to hold there. And it's important that you know what level you're trying to compete at to build an effective strategy at that level. So to make great chocolate chip cookies, you need a strategy or a recipe, right? If you don't have a great recipe, you will not make great chocolate chip cookies. And I mentioned this to those of you who were on before I started the recording. I don't bake. I can cook just about anything under the sun. I don't bake. And the reason for that is I don't measure. When I'm cooking, I'm like, about that much, taste it. Yep, that tastes right. Or nope, I need something else. And then I can add something to it. I have developed that ability to be able to cook just about anything. But when it comes to baking, you've got to have the recipe. Because I can't just go, it looks like about a cup of flour. About a cup of flour is not going to cut it in a recipe. About a cup of water in a recipe, sure, that would probably work. So when it comes to baking, you've got to have your recipe. You have to follow it to the T. You can't go off script. That's why I don't bake. I don't follow the recipe. My wife gets so angry because I make these delicious dinners. And she's like, oh, that was so good. Can you make it again? I'm like, I can come close, but I'll never make the exact same meal twice because I never know exactly how much of anything I put in it. Just don't. So when you're making it, you've got to have your recipe. You've got to have your plan, your strategy, and you've got to follow it to the letter because that's where success is found. The third step is a clear cultivating process. It has to be repeatable. So you have to have repeatable actions that are in business and communication that creates referrals. Guys, we are in a customer service industry, whether you realize it or not. Excuse me. Everything we do is customer service first. We're not in sales. Now, I know a lot of you go, well, yes, we are. We sell real estate. No, we don't. And I'll prove to you that we don't, okay? Find somebody. Walk up to anybody in any store, on the street, anywhere you want, and go, listen, I've got this fantastic house. Can I sell it to you? I don't care how good of a salesperson you are. If that person is not in the market for that home, you will never be able to sell it to them. You can't. We don't sell real estate. We facilitate real estate sales. If I worked at a car lot, I could sell somebody a car that they didn't necessarily show up with the intention to buy, right? I came in thinking I wanted a sedan, I left with a sports car. Okay, it's not exactly what I wanted, but it works. You are never going to find somebody that says, I need a 5-bedroom estate home and sell them a 2-bedroom condo. You're just never going to do it. I don't care how good you are at sales. You will never do that. So what you need are repeatable actions that are in business and a communication structure that creates referrals. Okay, so now you're just mixing it. This is your mixing bowl. Cultivating is a step-by-step process. You make contact, you create rapport, you stay top of mind. know you, like you, trust you. It's your process. But you have to cultivate the business opportunities using those detailed instructions from your strategy, using your recipe card that has proven success finding, connecting, and converting leads. It's not terribly difficult. I will tell you guys, if you are making regular contact with your customers, when they are ready, now that's a big, big, big caveat. When they are ready, they will use you. No, they may not be ready for a year, 2 years, 5 years. That's okay. I'm still going to have bills to pay in a year. Still going to need money. So that's fine. But guess what? In the next 5 years, until they're ready to buy, I want them to send me every single person they know that wants to buy or sell real estate. That is the power of following the recipe. So going back to our chocolate chip cookies, you need to cultivate following the recipe instructions. You don't follow those instructions specifically, your chocolate chip cookies are going to taste like mine. They're going to be doughy, they're going to be tough, they're going to be too sweet, not sweet enough, all the above. Because I don't follow recipes. If you skip a step or miss an ingredient from the recipe, it's going to have an effect on the outcome. You've got to commit to doing those actions in the strategy plan exactly as instructed every day. This is why we have scripts. Those scripts teach you exactly what to say. Now, I know a lot of you are going, yeah, I don't like scripts because I sound robotic. Stop. Those scripts are tried and true and tested and proven. They work. They work for Bob, they work for Jane, they work for Crystal, they work for Jake, they work for Rudy. They work. The question is, how much time and attention are you willing to spend to make them work for you? The recipe has been tried and tweaked and tested. We know that if you follow this recipe, you're going to have delicious cookies or a successful business. But are you dedicated to following the recipe? So what is that cultivation process? Well, it requires consistent communication. It's not enough to just call them once a year and go, hey. It's not consistent. It requires skill sets to influence. Well, where do you learn those skill sets? Practice. Practicing your scripts, practicing your listing presentation, doing it in front of a mirror, turning your camera on and recording yourself doing it. Listen to yourself as you do this. This is how that cultivation process occurs. So that you get to that point where you always say the right thing at the right time. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't always say the right thing at the right time. I just don't. Sometimes the filter between the brain and the mouth doesn't catch it, and I don't say the right thing. Okay. I've still been successful. This doesn't say that you have to be perfect. Perfection is cool, but it's not ever achievable. Don't get so focused on being perfect that you miss out on the opportunity to be great. Let me say that again. Don't get so focused on perfection that you miss out on the opportunity to be great. This happens every day in real estate. We think that we have to be perfect. You just have to be great. I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not perfect. Far from it. But I'm good. And most of the time I'm great. Are you happy with being consistent, practicing those skills that you need, and being great? You've got to find a way to be okay with this. You've got to find a way to come to terms with the fact that perfection is not achievable. It's just not. Greatness takes time. Greatness doesn't happen in a day or a week or a month. But it is doing those actions consistently that allow you to achieve greatness. So then the fourth thing is a strong closing strategy. You have to be highly skilled at communicating with influence. So here's what I always tell you guys. When it comes to a transaction, somebody is going to drive. Many real estate agents allow the driver to be their customer. Here's the problem. The person you just allowed to drive has no idea where you're going. Right? They don't know. They've never been here before. You're the professional. You're the one who knows where you're trying to go. Now, you might be new and you might have only been there once or twice, or maybe not at all, but you know how to get there. And oh, by the way, you've got a pretty good navigator. I've been there once or twice. I know how to get to closing. I know how to keep deals from derailing. You've got a GPS system. You've got two really, really good brokers who are here to help you get there. So why are you so afraid to drive? So what if you make a wrong turn? That's the beauty of a GPS. It reroutes you. We'll get you there. So you might make an extra turn. You get to take the scenic route sometimes. That's okay. When you're highly skilled at communicating with influence, this is your baking temperature and time. If you follow the recipe to the T, but you don't get the temperature and the time right, it's still not going to work. You got fantastic dough, tastes delicious, but if you crank the oven to 600 degrees and stick it in there for 30 minutes, it's not going to be edible, right? So you have to have your strong closing strategy. You've got to know where you're going and how long it's going to take you to get there. You've got to drive. And so many real estate agents are so afraid to drive. They're afraid to drive the deal. You're going to have to do it. There's just no way around it. So to make the chocolate chip cookies, you need closing to bake the right temperature and the right time. If you don't bake them for the right amount of time, you can't make chocolate chip cookies. Man, I'm getting hungry. All right. So the recipe comes in to your strategy, but there are some myths that come from that closing strategy. One, people will choose me if I show them that I'm the best agent. That's a myth. It's just a myth. Here's the truth of it. If this were true, you'd never lose a listing or a buyer. Crystal, I'm going to pick on you for a second because this happened over the weekend. Crystal called and said, hey, so this buyer that I've been working with told me he wanted to, actually that you had submitted an offer for, told you that he wanted to go look at other properties, but then told you he wasn't committed to any one real estate agent. Now, Crystal had shown him, I don't even know how many houses, had gone above and beyond, had fought to get deals put in for them, had negotiated strength and position to be able to work for this buyer, and yet they had no loyalty. So people choose me if I show them that I'm the best. I know for a fact that Crystal went out there and showed him that she was the best real estate agent, willing to do whatever it took to get those deals done for him. But he still didn't feel like he needed to be loyal. So this is a myth. Your skill is only one of the factors in choosing you And most of why they choose an agent has to do with their emotion, not logic. I always say that people buy emotionally and justify rationally. You never, I shouldn't say never, you very rarely ever hear somebody walk into a home and go, this feels like a good bargain. No, they go in and say, this feels like home. This feels like the right one. Right? They get that feeling. They buy emotionally and then justify rationally. The appraisal, the inspection, those are the logical pieces falling into place to support the emotional decision that had already been made. So here's some tips for mastering your closing skills. One, the ability to read people. And this is why I love that personality class so much. And if you haven't watched it or haven't been through it, I do a class on understanding personality types. It is so important for you to understand your personality type and the ability to recognize those personality types in others, because your ability to read people is going to make all the difference in your ability to close them. Can you identify their personality profile and their needs and then effectively tailor your discussion to their style? The better you become at doing that, the more effective you will be as a closer. Hands down. Second one is your ability to negotiate. How well do you negotiate? And I did a class, I want to say it was earlier this year, on the art of negotiation, how to be a better negotiator. It's important. I would say it's up there as one of the most important skills that you can have as a real estate professional. Third one is to be confident. Do they look at you and see someone that's oozing confidence with your skills and with a deliberate presentation format? People that know me, it may not be totally fair, but a lot of people that know me would call me cocky. I'm confident, probably more than I should be in most cases, and I can admit that. I tend not to be arrogant because I know that there's a lot that I don't know, but I am confident. When I walk into a listing appointment, when I walk into a home with a buyer, when I walk into sit down to fill out a contract, I am confident that I'm going to do exactly what I said I'm going to do. That I'm going to deliver that level of customer service that I have promised. I am confident in my ability to do that. Not because I know everything, but because I know if I get in a situation where I don't have an answer, I've got a resource I can go call to find out. I am confident. Fourth one is to know your scripts and your objection handlers. You win far less when you wing it. And this has been proven time and time and time and time again. Across every industry, the most successful in any given industry are the ones who have and follow scripts. It's just as simple as that. Now, some of you, as I'm going through this, are going, I don't know that I can be confident. I don't know that I can practice my scripts. I don't know that I could be a great negotiator. This is where you start to hit your comfort zone. Because if you want to take your business to the next level, these are non-negotiable. You need to do all four of these things every single day. Are you willing to do it? Your level of success depends on it. If somebody had a gun to your head, would you do it? If somebody said that the only way you were going to provide for your family in the next 12 months are to do these things, are you going to do it? For a lot of agents, the answer would still be no. No, I won't do it. And that's okay. I can't force you to do it. I can't make you go out there and be successful. I can't make somebody who lacks motivation, well, motivation or desperation, but I can't make someone that lacks those two things successful, and I can't stop somebody who is determined. That's what it comes down to. So how uncomfortable are you willing to get to do these 4 things? Because your success depends on it. Then the 5th part of it is world-class service. Guys, we are in a service industry. We have to deliver at a level of service that creates excitement. Do you think your customers would be excited to work with you? If not, then you need to step up your game. Step up your game. Crystal said, your first principle taught me, if you're uncomfortable, you're learning. And that's exactly right. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning. And Jake said, I firmly believe that my confidence from knowing I can get the answer, and should I struggle, Greg and Scott will be there, has helped me big time. And that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you guys. You don't have to have all the answers today. You've got people that do. I got places I can go when I don't have the answer. Are you delivering a level of service that creates excitement for your customers? If the answer is no, then you got to step up your game. Second part is that extra that makes it even better. What is that extra? What is it that you do that the 80% of the other real estate agents that don't make it to their first renewal are not? What is that for you? For every single person here and every single person that watches this, the answer to this question will be different. What is it that you do? Some of you might actually be struggling to come up with this answer because you're honestly saying, I don't know. I don't know what it is that I do that sets me apart. Let's figure it out. We can sit down and talk about it. I'm more than happy to schedule some one-on-one time to really dive into these things. But you've got to know what it is that is your unique value proposition. What do you bring that the other people around you don't? It's important to know. So adding a little bit extra is what's going to set you apart. So providing service that exceeds expectations is the skill of putting yourself in the mind of the person that you're servicing and meeting their needs before they know they have them. Anticipation. How effective are you at anticipating what comes next? Because the most successful agents out there are the ones who can predict what's about to happen before they get there. Being proactive as opposed to reactive. Which one are you? Are you just always reacting to everything that's getting thrown at you? Or are you looking ahead going, hey, that might be a problem. Let me see if I can get out ahead of that. That's the difference in those agents who are mediocre versus those agents who are exceptional. If you want to exceed at being exceptional, you have to perform at that level. World-class service is tweaking the chocolate chip cookie recipe and making cookies that are superior. It's that little bit of cinnamon. It's that little bit of something. What is it? So when somebody tastes that, they go, wow, I've had a lot of chocolate chip cookies and there's just something a little bit different about this. They're softer, they're, whatever. There's something different about this. This is what we have to strive for in our business. At the end of the day, Are you willing to tweak your recipe? Because just because this is the recipe that your great, 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 great grandmother passed down doesn't mean it can't be improved upon, right? Doesn't mean that it's written in stone. The same is true with your business plan. It may be written in pen, but it's not written in stone. So a myth about service. If I meet people's expectations, they'll use me again and refer me to other people. If I meet their expectations, if I do just enough for them to be satisfied. The truth is, we're only excited when our expectations are exceeded. Everybody wants word of mouth business, but only a few agents are really doing anything worth bragging about. Think about that for a second. We go into a restaurant and we get exactly what we expected. The waitress is nice, my drink stayed full, my food was hot, was correct, was accurate. Okay, I got exactly what I expected. Am I gonna go out and go, guys, I just had the best meal of my life? No, because I got exactly what I expected. I would never complain, but I'm not gonna go out there and, be a stark raving lunatic about this place either. It's the same thing in your business. Doing what they expect is going to result in them going, yeah, I'd go back again. If I decided to buy or sell a house, sure, I'd call Greg again. But are they going to tell everybody around them? Probably not. It's just human nature. We are programmed to appreciate what we have, but the only way that we go stark raving mad about it is when something truly exceptional happens. Crystal said, the same guy who wasn't committed to any agent, he called me and said, Crystal, you always pick up right away. Do you do anything besides work? And I responded, well, Ron, I really try hard to make sure the home buying process is as easy for my clients as possible. And that includes always being available. So this is how you build that rapport. This is how you continue to grow your business, by going above and beyond, by being available when others are not. How uncomfortable are you willing to be for the sake of your business? Powerful repeats and referrals. To create 5-star raving fans, how will you deliver service after the sale? Testimonial video, follow-up sale, or post-sale follow-up, client appreciation parties. I did all 3 of these in my business. I did quarterly client appreciation parties. So what I would do is once a quarter, I would go into everybody that had, sorry. Okay. I went to everyone who had either bought or sold a home with me, or who had referred someone to me in that quarter, and I held client appreciation parties. First quarter was usually something like bowling. I would go to a bowling alley on like a Friday night, and I would rent half a dozen lanes, and I would have them bring their kids, pay for the lanes, pay for the shoes, pay for food. I'd order like 3 or 4 pizzas and some French fries and some cheese sticks and a couple of pitchers of soda, and, just have them out there and let them know that I appreciated them. We'd kind of have competitions and go, all right, who of my customers would win? Sometimes we do it on like a Sunday afternoon where the bowling alley is kind of slow anyway. And they would say, hey, listen, if you come in and you do this, I'll give you a deal, or I'll give you a rate for it. So I could usually negotiate it where it was a few $100. And I'd have, 25, 35 customers come. We would also go out, because I was working in Dunedin at the time, we'd go out to the Dunedin Causeway. And I'd get out first thing in the morning, pop up the RE/MAX tent, and set up the grill, bunch of coolers, have the jet skis out there, and invite my customers to come out and just have a day at the causeway. They'd come out, throw some burgers, hot dogs, you know, whatever. Pretty low-key, chill day. Just come have a day. Let the kids splash around. Take the jet skis out. These were the kinds of things that didn't have to be crazy expensive, but my customers were super excited to refer other people because they want to be included in the next party. Right? How many agents out there are doing client appreciation parties? I'll tell you, not many. And what would happen is they would tell their friends or post on Facebook, hey, my real estate agent threw an appreciation party for their customers. And then what it does is it allows your customers to get to know each other. So they get to meet each other and they're like, oh, and some of my customers have actually become really good friends because they met at one of my appreciation parties. So now I have two people that are friends with each other that are both talking about the fact that I am a fantastic real estate agent. So now if they were to encounter anybody that they now had in common, I now have two people advocating for me. Guys, it's not that hard. It doesn't have to be all that expensive. I know a real estate agent that every year they do one big client appreciation party a year, okay? And they theme it around their vacation. So for example, if they were going to Hawaii this year, they would do a luau for their client appreciation party. Or if they went to Europe, they would do like a night in Paris as their theme, whatever. Their customers got to feel like they were taking part in their vacation because the theme of the party coincided with whatever their annual vacation was. Now, for those parties, you know, they're usually bigger, and now that we have COVID and things like that, we may have to rethink this a bit. But their parties would be 100, 150 people. You know, it'd be $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. But here's my question for you. Would you spend $2,000, and I'll just use a round number here. Would you spend $2,000 if you knew that it would result in, let's just say, at least 5 transactions next year? $400 a transaction? Oh yeah, I'd pay that all day long. So for these agents, sure, I'll spend $2,000 on a party. Because at the end of the day, I know that this party is going to result in more business next year. This is how you learn to work by referral. Do those things that nobody else is doing and do them well. You need a game plan that's scalable. So here's where a lot of agents get stuck, okay? They get to the point where they can operate at, let's just say, $5 million a year in transactions, $6 million a year transaction, whatever. It's about 100,000, 120,000 a year, or something like that. This is the most they could do by themselves. Most agents that I know, unless they're selling luxury, you know, if you're doing the average $250,000 price point, about $8 million a year is where most agents are going to cap. So at 250,000 4 times 8, it's about 32, 36 transactions a year. That's about right. That's where most agents are going to cap out in what they're able to achieve. But what you need to do is you need to have a game plan that's scalable, that allows you to operate at that next level. And what that means is you may have to get an assistant. You may have to get a buyer's agent. You may have to create a team. You may have to do all of these things that are scary because now you don't have all the control anymore. For somebody like me, that is a really scary prospect. But those that do attempt to scale up their business end up with more problems than successes because they do it poorly. They don't know how to build a team. They don't know what to delegate to an assistant. They don't know what to give to a transaction coordinator. So in turn, they don't actually become as efficient or as effective as they need to be because they don't do it right. Those that are immensely successful have a business that is scalable. It can be scaled up, it can be scaled down. The final ingredient is your ability to scale. It determines whether you are an owner of your business or a slave to it. Many real estate agents I know are a slave to their business. They are at the mercy of their cell phone, their email, their social media, their texts, their whatever. When you learn the ability to scale your business, and it may not be right now, it may not need to be scaled for a year, 2 years, 5 years, but start thinking about it now. Start putting those systems in place that when it comes time to add a second agent, to add an admin, to add a transaction coordinator, you're already in the mindset of, what do I need to do that? Here are some things you need to learn. How do you compensate your team so that you don't go broke? How do you hire and fire so you don't ruin your reputation? How do you become a great leader? How do you set up systems and processes that enable you to scale? How do you grow so that you can make more money, have more time, more freedom, and more fun? These are the things that you need to start thinking about now, before you need it. Because at the time that you start to need this, now you go back to being reactionary versus proactive. I don't want you to react to the fact that I have more business than I know what to do with. I want you to start thinking about, how do I get ahead of this problem? How do I get ahead of a problem that I don't have yet? That's how you become great. So create your recipe, follow your recipe, have your right ingredients on hand, and follow the step-by-step instructions. That's it. You're going to be able to take real action on building your skill set and having the confidence to enjoy making the perfect whatever over and over again. Creates massive results and helps you exceed your goals. Do you have any questions so far? I'll give you guys a second and see if you have any questions before we move. I've got just a couple more things I want to touch on before we wrap up. And I know this class is running a little bit longer than most, but it's really, really important that you guys understand how to get to that level. So if you guys want to get to success, you've got to get out of your comfort zone and do those actions that are required to accomplish your goal. You've got to do what we know it takes to be successful. You must be able to push aside your ego and pride and be willing to learn and grow. I can't teach you this. When I was training software, and I may have shared this with you guys in other classes, but when I was training software, I trained veterinary practice management software. So I traveled the country implementing these software systems into veterinary hospitals. So it did appointments, it did medical records, it did radiology, it did everything, okay? So I flew to Boston and I did an implementation for this doctor who ran a 5-hospital practice, okay? This man knew everything about everything. They had originally sent a female trainer out there, and after 2 days, she left. She just couldn't work with this guy. So the next week they sent me, and this doctor already had a chip on his shoulder. So I walked in there and he started going off about all these things that he knew about the software. Okay, and this is in a very public setting, so I kind of let it go. And after I finished my first day of training, I asked that doctor to meet me in his office. And I walked him in an office, and this doctor, who has more letters after his name than an alphabet, sat down at his desk, and I looked him square in the face and told him, when it comes to veterinary medicine, you know more than anybody I've ever met. When it comes to this software, you don't know jack. Now I need you to stop talking and let me teach you what you need to learn. Otherwise, there's no point in my being here. And this doctor went ghost white. And for the next week, I had a fantastic time with him. He took me out the last night. We went out. He bought me the best steak dinners I've ever had, actually. And he thanked me for getting his ego out of the way so that he could learn what he needed to learn. We've got to learn to get our egos out of the way so that we can continue to learn what we need. Because there's always something to learn. I don't care how good you are at what you do. I don't care if you came from $1 billion sales team in a Fortune 500 company. You don't know what you don't know. And unless you're willing to learn, unless you're willing to stop talking long enough to hear what somebody else has to say, I can't help you. But those agents that are willing to stop and sit and listen, those of you that attend classes like this, you are the ones that are going to be successful. Because you can put your ego and your pride aside and you can learn and accept that there are things that you don't know. And you must be willing to work hard and be resilient with determination. Guys, real estate is not for the faint of heart. Not even a little bit. You're going to work hard. You're going to work a lot. You're going to sacrifice time with your family. You're going to give up your weekends. You're going to do a lot of things that might make you uncomfortable. But you're going to have the opportunity to play really hard too. When I had my real estate business and I would take a vacation, and we usually took 2 to 3 vacations a year, I had a system that allowed my business to continue when I was completely gone. I had an agent who stepped up and cared for my customers with the exact same systems and strategies that I implemented to make sure that they didn't even miss the fact that I was gone. Now, they may have missed my personality, or they may have missed my communication methods or whatever, but they knew that they were going to have what they needed, that their deal was not going to fall apart if I was gone. This is what you have to do to be a successful business owner. To make those chocolate chip cookies, your foundation or your base ingredient is your flour. If you don't have the right flour, you can't make the right cookies. So how do you strengthen your success? The most important skill I want you to learn today is how to control or shift your mindset that fast. Because there is nothing that will derail your business faster than what's right between your ears. So what I need you to do is I need you to learn to start identifying these thoughts and behaviors that go, hey, this is self-doubt. This is not productive for my business. I've got to get back on track. When you can learn to do that, you are going to watch your business thrive in ways that you could not imagine. So the question I want you to ask yourself, who do I need to be in this moment to overcome this obstacle, have this conversation, capitalize on this opportunity, or make this decision? Who do I need to be? Because these people that believe that there is just one version of themselves are delusional. We are whoever we need to be at the moment that we need to be that person. That's how you get to be successful. I can be the soft guy that will hold your hand and help you get to where you need to be. Or I can be the guy that puts my foot in your butt and tells you to stop being an idiot and start making your phone calls. I can be both of those things. And sometimes I can be both of those things simultaneously. It's a skill set that has been built and developed over time. You have to ask yourself this question. Who do I need to be in this moment? what will it take to do what comes next? I need to find that part inside of me that at this moment is petrified to do what I know I have to do next. Who do I have to be to get there? Consistent, predictable strategy. Can I be successful only working repeat and referral business? It's a myth. This is one of the most dangerous beliefs that you can have about building a business. And in fact, there is no other industry that thinks it's possible, because it's not. Now, what did I say? 90% of my business came from repeat customers and referrals. But there was still 10%. I still had to go meet new people. I still had to network. I still had to market. I still had to do all of those things. I can't just stop and go, okay, I'm doing nothing but referrals. Okay. You can have a pretty successful business doing nothing but referrals, but it's not always predictable. It's not always consistent. The third is your strategy process. Why can't I be successful? Because you can't control or predict when you're going to get a repeat client or referral. You may be able to influence it, but you can't control it. So in a down market, repeat and referral business dries up. You've got to always have something else. There's always got to be multiple streams going on. So a myth, for sale by owners and expired prospecting doesn't work. Well, that's a myth. It's not that for sale by owners and expired prospecting doesn't work. It's that your for sale by owner and expired nurturing process that doesn't work. You're not following your scripts. You're not following the recipe. When you follow the recipe, it works. No action results in no success and no rewards. You've got to get outside your comfort zone to get to that place where you have success. Delicious chocolate chip cookies come from following the recipe. Successful businesses come from following your business plan. It's that simple. So do you guys have any questions? Anything else that you want to add or contribute? Anything that I missed? Anything that you want me to clarify? No? All right. Well, as always, thank you guys so much for being here, for being a part of these trainings. And as always, if there's anything you need, anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, make it a great day, great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.